Copy nothing. Last year, Jaguar did a thing. You remember that thing, right? Yeah, they really did that thing. And a couple of months ago, I flew all the way to California to press a Jaguar executive about his decision-making. He had to check in with me. You know what I'm saying? Just kidding, it was a very civil conversation. I'm a very good kid. But you guys had a lot to say in the comments for that video. In fact, it's got the highest comment to view ratio of any video I've ever done, and it really got me thinking about their master plan. So far, they're gung-ho on going full electric for their lineup for the foreseeable future, but if history is any indicator, it might not be the best idea. And so I've been thinking up a business plan, if you will, on if Jaguar were to reboot their ICE cars. And then I realized that Jaguar could actually do something awesome, and not by copying nothing, but by actually copying everything. But stick with me. So the first thing you have to realize is that Jaguar is under the JLR umbrella, and the LR and JLR is actually making really great cars right now, including this one. This is the Range Rover Sport SV, and this SUV is the perfect template for what ICE Jaguars could look like. So let's firstly talk about engines. The 5-liter supercharged V8, as awesome as it is, simply won't survive future global emissions rules, which is truly heartbreaking, but it is what it is. They're gonna have to find new engines to use in these cars, and that is where BMW steps in. Well, they already have stepped in, actually. This Range Rover Sport SV is using the BMW S68s, the twin-turbo V8 also found in the X5M with 626 horsepower. That's more horsepower than what you have in the X5M. It sounds awesome, it's blisteringly fast, even with 6,000 pounds to move around, and it's considerably more efficient than the Jaguar 5-liter V8. This car doesn't represent my ideal Jaguar 1000%, but it's a good taste of what those cars could be if they just copy and pasted a little bit of what's already within the JLR portfolio. It's definitely big, it's definitely a boat, but this thing moves. Woo! Good brakes, good brakes, good brakes. And you know what, just because we can, let's give this thing a proper cars with miles launch control. So like I said, 630 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque, 6,000 pounds on a warm day with Pilot Sport tires. Let's see how well we do. All right, foot on brake, foot on throttle. Let's go! This thing is fast! Woo! Yeah, that was an exciting launch. Not the greatest time, I'm looking at it right now, but exciting launch nonetheless. This thing hauls. But that was 0 to 60 in 3.74 seconds for weighing 6,000 pounds and having 600-ish horsepower. Not bad. Range Rovers have never been about being the 0 to 60 kings or top performance as far as in its class, but I mean, that is a respectable number. Imagine putting this in something that is even more performance focused, made by Jaguar, perhaps? But there's a greater play here to using BMW engines and Jaguars. BMW, and the M brand specifically, has never been more popular and mainstream as it is right now. And if you told me that I could get a B58 or S58 or S68 in a sleek British muscle car body, my only question would be, where the hell do I sign? With Audi serving up kind of the same cars for the past 10 years and Mercedes dropping weird hybrid four-bangers on us, BMW is really in the strongest position as far as its aftermarket and tuning community. And Jaguar, with their cars like the F-Type, the F-Pace, the aftermarket and tuning communities for those cars is virtually non-existent by comparison. So when you marry those two things, Jaguar plus a built-in tuner community with a great engine, that is like a... It's a match made in heaven. I don't know what that was. I'm just saying that with BMW engines, you've now got a massive tuner and aftermarket community already built in to your platform. That's, how do you lose at that point? Next is tech. Jaguar has never really, how do I put this? They've never really tried when it comes to the tech in their cars, quite honestly. The F-Type was the flagship sports car, and that had tech that was barely better than my E92 M3. And I love the car anyway, because that's not what you buy an F-Type for. But if you're making a car in 2025, you have to offer a competitive technology suite. You just do. And so once again, instead of copying nothing, why don't you just, go down the hall of the JLR building and copy some of the tech from your Land Rover and Range Rover brothers? Now, I don't honestly consider Range Rover to be a technology leader in the automotive space, but there's definitely a clear separation between the two brands, Jaguar and Range Rover and Land Rover, when it comes to just how good the tech in the cars are. Now, I haven't had the best experience with Range Rovers when it comes to how reliable said tech actually is in execution, but if they could just not copy that part when putting it in the Jaguar, that would be swell. I do not want my gauge cluster turning off while I'm driving on the freeway. That hasn't happened with this car, but it has happened in the past, among other things. Also, I think it might be time to let the Meridian sound systems go. Every single Jaguar I've tested that has been equipped with the Meridian sound system has been a heaping pile of mid. Ian. We got Bang & Olufsen, we got Harman Kardon, we got Bowers and Wilkins. Hell, even Ferrari was using JBL at one point. Maybe don't go that far, but I think it might be time to try something else. Just even down to like the screen. Like the F-Type screen was so bad you could barely see it with the top down on a sunny day. These screens in the Range Rovers and the Land Rovers are sharp and crisp and clean and just big enough to see if you've got bad eyes like me. Not to mention the UIs are relatively clean and simple. These are all good things. Generally speaking, the latest Jags have always just felt a bit old, and so to compete in today's market, you gotta have that motherfucker looking like a spaceship, you know? If it's not looking like a spaceship, if the cool kids aren't calling it a spaceship on the inside, you're not really doing your job. All right, this one's gonna hit some nerves. The Type 00 concept has reached this level of infamy because of the design, and honestly, it does look a bit more sensible in person. If you ever have the opportunity to go check this car out in person, I recommend you do so because it might make more sense to your eyeballs when you see it right in front of you as opposed to a two-dimensional image online. Your opinion on it might change slightly. But this concept is what Jaguar is using to represent the future of the big cat's design language. Very much Batman animated series, Batmobile type beat. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's weird that everyone wants to get on Jaguar's case for having this concept car as if there aren't objectively bad looking cars on the road on sale right now that are killing it financially. I honestly think the thing for Jaguar to do is just to go all in with this new funky design language. Lean with it, rock with it. I think the last thing Jaguar needs to do is kind of be non-committal and just kind of dip their pinky toes in the pool. They have to go all the way in. I think that's going to serve them very well in the long term, quite honestly. Because the reality is that people just get used to these things. I'll give you an example. Last year I had the Cybertruck for a couple of weeks, and at this point there were probably less than 10 of these running around in the Northeast, and you would think I was on the Garden State Parkway running around butt naked the way people were just filming me and following me and freaking out every time they saw me in the car. It was like unlike anything I'd ever experienced before.
My boy's clean, that shit hot.
Fast forward 1 year later, Cybertrucks are they're regular traffic now. You see them everywhere in every major city and no one really bats an eye. It's kind of just a regular looking car now. And if Jaguar does this with a radical design car, the same thing will happen. It will come out, people will be, and then they'll be, I don't know why I'm just making mouth noises, but the point is, people will get used to these things, and the way to actually sell them post the shock value is to just have it look good. Because if it doesn't look good and you're just having shock value for shock value, well then you're cooked. Now look, I am not an automotive designer or automotive design or design expert in any sense of the word. If you want good takes on design, go to Bembley's channel. He's great at that stuff. I'm just a guy who loves cars and does not want the new Jaguar to be uggo. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. Now, I think the last thing that Jaguar would need to do to succeed with an ICE car is to do unnecessarily cool things that no one asked for. Exhibit A, this 6,000-pound Range Rover has full carbon fiber wheels. This is so stupid in so many ways, but it is so sick. I think this Sport SV might have more carbon on the car than any other car I've reviewed this year, minus like the 765 LT, which has a carbon tub, so it's pretty hard to beat that. And believe me when I say all this carbon does pretty much nothing for actually saving weight or improving performance in any meaningful way on the street, but it's cool, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't spec this car in any other way. We should really understand and acknowledge the importance of vanity. Sometimes people see things on a car and want it simply because it looks cool, even if it isn't actually cool in execution. Do you think people are gonna feel good about having carbon fiber wheels when it comes down to actually replacing them if they get cracked or curb rashed, God forbid? That would be awful. No, but they look really sick. And so I think people would maybe make that sacrifice to have something like carbon fiber wheels. And do you think most M4 CS owners are actually taking these cars to the track and really exploiting their full capabilities? No, probably not, but it is track ready and it looks track ready, and that's what people like about it. Jaguar, for the most part, has really played it safe in the 21st century. There was, of course, the outrageous SVR F-Type that cemented itself as the burble tune king, and then we have the Project 7 and Project 8 that were effectively Jaguar's Porsche GT3 fighters that really no one ever got to buy or see or even know about, quite frankly. But other than that, Jaguar's really played it by the books. And I think what they've been missing this whole time has been the pizzazz, the aura, the flair. But this Range Rover Sport SV I've been testing kind of has all of that stuff because it looks like a Brabus version of itself, but then also actually looks good, and it's fast, and it's genuinely pretty fun to drive for a Range Rover. Like, literally, what reason is there to have a carbon fiber hood or carbon wheels on a Range Rover? Absolutely none, but I never want to drive one without those things again. And so theoretically, Jaguar could technically apply some of this logic to an EV, right? But I mean, it's an EV, you know? And I think there will be some people who buy this car at some point, but I mean, if you have any idea of how these things drop in value or how unreliable they might be just because it's a bunch of new tech initially, it might not be the best move for some people. But I mean, BMW, those drivetrains are tested and proven and reliable and fun and exciting. It makes you feel like you got something that's worth $200,000+. Well, I don't know about 200, more like 100-ish. 200's a bit crazy. That's a bit crazy. So that's my take. Basically, just use BMW engines because they're cheaper than building your own and tunable and fast and reliable and proven. Have tech that rivals Mercedes and Audi and BMW as well. Don't make them ugly, I guess. And then put carbon fiber wheels or something cool and unnecessary on them or something like that because it's just that easy. Now go Jaguarians, go make me proud. But not before hitting that like button and subscribing for future content like this. We'll be back to regular videos soon.